Heyo, Brian here. Welcome to my channel where I show, create, and talk about eye-catching art and eye-catching things. Happy March 8th to you. What's the significance of March 8th, you ask? It's the 111th International Women's Day, which celebrates the great strides, accomplishments, victories of women throughout history, and the continuing struggles for genuine women's liberation and human rights. March is actually recognized around the world as International Women's Month. Of course, we don't want to fall into the tokenizing trap of nailing down the women's movement into a single month, but it is a time to bring the ongoing fight against patriarchy, sexism, prostitution, racism, economic exploitation, and all forms of violence against women and girls to the fore. Women's rights are human rights. As redundant as this may seem to you, there are still lots of people and institutions that deem working class women's issues as categorical, downright irrelevant, and even more dangerous, resolved. But to celebrate the militant spirit of International Women's Month, I'll be painting portraits of some of the most influential women in my life, starting with CECILIA DIOCSON. This video will be part 1 of 4 videos I will be dedicating to the women whom have greatly helped inform my worldviews, given me guidance, taught me valuable life lessons, and shaped me into the person I am today. So, who is CECILIA DIOCSON? CECILIA is currently the Executive Director of the National Alliance of Filipino Women in Canada, works as a registered nurse, and has been doing community development and organizing work for more than 30 years. CECILIA, or Ate Cel as my comrades and I call her, hails from Negros and the Visayas Islands of the Philippines. When she was a student activist on her university campus, she led many of her peers to protest against the human rights abuses of the Marcos dictatorship, who during this time in the early 1970s imposed martial law all over the Philippines. CECILIA moved to Montreal in 1975, seeing that Canada, in her own words, is a place people didn't fear persecution, imprisonment, or death for speaking about human rights. By the 1980s, CECILIA was married and a mother of 2, who saw a great connect with the challenges of accessing affordable childcare as a working mother with the plight of Filipino women migrating to Canada under a federal labor program loosely referred to as the Foreign Domestic Movement, allowing foreign women to work as nannies in Canada under temporary and precarious terms. This labor trend would then be formalized in 1992 as the Live-in Caregiver Program. CECILIA and her family moved to Vancouver, British Columbia in 1986, and as a city seeing one of the largest growth of Filipinos in Canada at the time, with a major bulk of the community being comprised of Filipino nannies, it became apparent to CECILIA and the women she organized with that the majority of these working women faced many institutional barriers in the immigration, labor, and healthcare systems, along with abusive employers that hindered their upward economic and social mobility. In 1989, CECILIA and her group founded and formed the Philippine Women's Center of British Columbia, and thanks to their efforts throughout the years, at one point had chapters in Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, and Winnipeg. And in March 2002, the National Alliance of Philippine Women in Canada was formed. Not only did the NAPWC develop a support system that focused on legal issues regarding labor, healthcare, immigration, and housing, but they also prioritized raising the social consciousness of their members to engage with their communities and policymakers to demand their successful and genuine settlement and integration in Canadian society, and to resist economic, social, and political marginalization and inequality. In a huge and direct way, the organizations I belong to, which are the Filipino-Canadian Youth Alliance of Ontario and CECLAB Ontario, which is a long acronym in Tagalog, are quite literally the brainchildren of the NAPWC, whom, through their decades-long of community development and organizing work, have instilled the proactive, class-conscious, and progressive Filipino identities for later generations to learn about and ultimately continue to build on, not just within the Filipino-Canadian community, but for the whole working class in Canada. Even though the Filipino community enjoys some representation in mainstream media and in the world of food, sports, dances, and traditional dresses, there is so much of this critical history that goes unnoticed, and in my own meager way, I want to disrupt that by sharing content like this. 5 minutes and 41 seconds is definitely not enough to talk about the work and contributions of Cecilia, and if you're interested to learn more about her and the organizations I've mentioned here, I've included some resource links in the description down below for your discovering and reading pleasure. Thanks for tuning in and watching this far. If you haven't already, please give this video a like, share it, comment down below, and subscribe. Do watch out for parts 2, 3, and 4 of this Women's Month painting series. Happy International Women's Day, and I hope to see you again next time.